I don't care if you make money long or short, just as long as you make money, right? I don't wish losses on anybody, but when you hold and hope and you wish and dream and then you get crushed like on CEI, which again seems extreme, but the reality is these types of ends to these supernovas do happen. Then you have losses because you believed in the company and you didn't really do your due diligence, or you didn't have your own trade plan, or you had no trade plan, right? You just gambled. And so I think that's the kind of the point I want to end, at least for me, for this episode, is like, for me, it's just trading versus investing. It's like, don't be a believer, like truly understand what you own. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Twist. We took last week off because we're busy, but we're back. As mentioned, or as promised, Jack and Mari are together on this one, but I mean, they're always together, just little lovebirds there. So cute. But yeah, we're back. We're just another week in the lovely stock market. This week is interesting because we just had a huge run on CEI last week, which I think really brought some heat to the market, really picked it up. But then NYSE just drastically died, which we'll talk about. I think that kind of crushed any momentum we had. So now we're kind of back to where we started. What do you guys think? Am I accurate on that one?
Yeah, that's very accurate. There's I think you mentioned in one of your tweets, the October heat. And yeah, we got that with CEI, LUS, UIBL, but now we see that CEI, it went from 485 to all the way back to 1. So I feel like there were a lot of people along that, and a lot of hype and momentum behind all of CEI and everything. And now there's just so many people that have lost on that ticker, unfortunately. And I think that for OTCs mainly, I haven't been trading any OTCs. It's just been CEI mainly this whole month.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish that I really do wish that CEI went to that unrealistic $10 a share target from a lot of the Twitter pumpers, because then a lot of idiots would have had money to buy more plays, and I'm sure there would be another run right now. But unfortunately, CEI tanked pretty vigorously from 3 to 1 in one day, halting down. And I don't think that a lot of people that were holding from lower, I think a lot of people got awfully greedy on that one. And I think a lot of people gave back a significant amount of profits. So I don't think that there's a lot of money to go around to buy some other pumps and plays, personally, from what I've seen so far. It's been really, really slow since CEI crashed. Even on the NASDAQ side, I mean, we have PROG, but I mean, that one did a midday offering and it's coming back, and it's just a little bit choppy. There hasn't been too good of a trade on it, but it's moving a little bit, which is cool. And like Mario was saying with the OTCs, they're just really dull right now, like a lackluster of volume. And who really knows what to expect with those this month. And I think that this month, the hype was, CEI, the crash, the first few days of the month. And now I think it's going to be a little bit of a dull period. So far this week, absolutely nothing. I saw nothing Monday, nothing Tuesday, nothing probably today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. Although Friday was a nice opportunity on CEI on the bounce short. And I know both of you did really, really well on it, and congratulations. Unfortunately for me, I ended up moving on Friday, and I missed pretty much Friday, Thursday, Wednesday of last week because I was moving, and I did my best not to trade. Although when CEI was crashing from 3 to 1, I did attempt a dip buy, and it was a little bit of a sticky situation for me, and it was pretty stressful. Probably could have been avoided for me, but it is what it is. And I at least didn't trade the last 3 days, even though I think I should have not traded the entire week.
Right on. I remember talking to you, Jack, about the dip buy as it was happening here. And yeah, just really a lackluster dip buy. I think from prior experience, we're used to seeing these dip buys that haul down 3 or 4 times in a row. have these epic bounces. And so when we went to, from mid twos all the way to mid ones, I mean, I was thinking at least a bounce to $2. And I mean, we could barely push 180s. Luckily there's a ton of volume. So, with a, good timing and a good average, I still profit. I made about 5K on the dip buy. But just totally did not meet the expectations, which again, you never want to hold out for your expectations no matter what, because you will be disappointed. Like, you have to react to price action. So I think that's why both me and Jack profited, because we sold where we just saw the price action kind of stop. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys feel the same. I was shocked to see how devastating CEI was. I mean, I knew from previous history of how kind of scammy and crappy of a company this has been. I mean, if you go back to like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, let's go back 10. So they've done so many reverse splits. Like this isn't real. The fact that they were once priced at 56 million. They've just done so many reverse splits. So when you go back into the chart, it looks as if they were priced that high. They were never priced that high. Like that's just how many reverse splits they've done. Now, will they do another reverse split? Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, that was what so many people on Twitter and so many pumpers on Twitter were just riding the wave of, like, they're not going to dilute, they're not going to do a reverse split. And then backside comes in, and then a short report comes out. And I mean, just total destruction. And yeah, to what Jack's point about the first red day or the bounce short, I kind of screwed up on this. I didn't really short any of this move, any of this weakness in the morning. I was so caught up in the fact that this was like so strong, and like they're gonna give this a massive bounce to like $3. So I just totally did not react. I really failed poorly at that, and I missed all this. However, into the late day here, when it had this bounce into the 180s and then tapped at 190, I actually started at short for a swing idea. And so I actually swung overnight. I had a 180 average or so, held it overnight, and then covered it into this wash on Monday morning. And believe it or not, that was my biggest trade on CEI over the entire run up. Like this entire run up, even on this big, huge day, I think I only made 13K on this big day. But I made 25K on the overnight short. So, and that was like half my gains. I looked at my trades on Profitly for CEI, and I think I've made like 50 to 60K on it, which is literally probably, I mean, I'm up a little bit over 80K on the month, which is a great start. But I mean, that CEI is probably like 75% of it. So, like we just mentioned, now that CEI kind of got crushed so hard, and like Jack made a good point of, if this ticker hadn't died and got hit so hard, there could have been probably more people to get out with profits sooner, which could have then funneled that money into a new runner. And so because we got such a harsh end, I agree with everything Jack said of like, we might just see another slow week or two before we get new money, few people to save up a few more $100 to kind of bring a runner back. I don't know if you guys have any comments on CEI or any other runners, but that's been my thought process on it.
Yeah, so on Friday, I actually kind of took the same trade that you did. Instead, I was short in the morning into the morning spike. I thought it was just good risk reward because it was gapping up on that day. And as we already saw before, it crashed, and it didn't look like it was going to get over high day. And if it were, I would have just cut very easily, but I took a short around 218. And I wanted to take more of like a patience like approach. So I didn't cover any and just held into Monday, just because fundamentally, and just as we've seen the chart history before, it's shown that it can have multiple red days. So that's what I was expecting. And into the next day, I got a little bit greedy. So I didn't take too many off at around like 140s. But instead, I just ended up taking it at 160 just because it was just holding too well going into power hours. So I thought maybe a power hour squeeze, because we don't really know where these can go if there's so much hype behind it. So I just took my gains for like 12,000. But yeah, that was my trade on it. And then on the big panic day, I didn't really profit too much. I didn't really sell. I thought there could be like a bigger bounce than that. And then I just didn't trade it again. Mm-hmm.
You were really patient there. That's all. I didn't know you were short in the morning and then covered. I mean, you were almost short for like 2 full days. That's impressive. I wouldn't be able to do it. If I was short in the morning, I 100% would have covered probably into this move. I wouldn't even have thought this move was going to come. But yeah, that's still a great gain, 12K. Like, that's awesome. I like that a lot, and I remember telling myself today I was going to short it. And I guess in hindsight, I would have been right, but I don't know. At some point, like the volatility leaves itself. and it just, I don't know, trying to scalp it for 10 cents over 3 hours just didn't seem worth it today. But on this day, it gets back to this day, the dip buy wasn't as great, like we said. And I only I mean, the cool part is about like with such large runners like this, and so with so much volume, you only have to take such a small piece of a move when a ticker is so volatile like this to make money. You know, in a big move like this, yes, would I have wished to have made more than 13K on a day like this? Totally. But in terms of, because of how big of the volume is, because of how much volatility there was here, you know, I didn't have to do too much to make that much per se. And I know making 13 grand and saying I should have made more sounds like, all right, you rich a-hole or asshole, like, and I'm grateful for 13 grand, you know, but it just, in terms of how I traded it, you know, I took a loss in the morning, shorted after it failed again, covered it all in the 270s, didn't reshort. And I kept telling myself, reshort, reshort, reshort. Then the short report comes out, completely missed this short, made this dip buy, and then one last small short here, and that was it. So caught, I would say, a little less than half the move in terms of what was available, but even missing this main play, even missing some of these reshort bounces, even missing some of this long bounce and coming on 13K, it just shows like how great some of these, when a supernova is here, how much opportunity it can provide for you, especially if you're prepared to know what you're doing. And like I said, even missing half the move, and all the other trades I took on it, like I'm up 60K on the ticker on the month. So that's like super great. Super happy with that. I mean, theoretically, I know Jack did this in the summer months. Like I could just stop trading for us the month. Like I could just be like, you know what, I'm done. Obviously I'm not, because I'm degenerate. But
yeah, I'll talk about this one. So at this point with BRYF, this stock was being pumped by one of the infamous CEI pumpers' friends. And I ended up seeing it, and it was just trading absurd volume. I think it was 7 billion shares on the day. Given it is a sub penny stock, I think it was trading around 0.003. So it is a sub penny stock, but nevertheless, 7 billion shares is absolutely absurd. So I ended up seeing that, and I ended up buying the dip back down towards the morning highs there. And I ended up getting long around like 27283. I kind of averaged into it with like a 2829 average, and ended up swinging 30 million shares overnight. And we ended up getting a really, really nice 20 or 30% gap up and a nice morning spike as well. So I ended up scaling out into that, and that actually is about a 100% move from that dip low to that morning high, which it doesn't seem like it's that big of a move, but it was that big of a move. And it had an absurd amount of volume, so you could size pretty good into it, and you didn't have to capture 100%. If you captured 20, 30, 40, 50% of that move on okay size, like that was a great trade. That was my best trade of the month so far. I ended up locking in like 30 grand on it, and I think I'm up like 35K on the month or something like that. Like I said, last week I didn't really trade too much, but that's my best trade of the month so far. Although I did hold on to a few shares on that, because I thought that with how high CEI went, maybe they would pump this one to a penny, but ended up taking those shares off around 3. Held it for a while. That next morning there, sold those shares and moved on. I mean, hopefully this one comes back because it's a lot of fun and it has a lot of volume. It is kind of basing around that 2 level, but right now, really not expecting too much from it. Go ahead.
Nice.
What I saw was it was a Friday and it was an OTC, and it also held VWAP and it held morning highs, like Jack said, and it just into the Monday gap ups, which are notorious to be great. So I thought it would be a good trade. I ended up taking some like right at the closing, maybe like 350 or something like that, and just holding for the next day, and it was a quick 30% for me.
I like that. I make the mistake sometimes of not picking some of these sub pennies because I don't like sub pennies. But there's only one, then there's one like these where, I mean, you just kill it. Like you guys mentioned, this doesn't look like a bunch of move, but this is literally 100% move, which is crazy to think about. Just super impressive. What Mari, were you talking about? You know, I love the Friday long into a morning gap up idea, because that usually happens. And that's what I thought I was going to do with IFXY here. Beautiful breakout on Friday over 1.37-ish or 1.4-ish a little bit, and longed it into the close because it was holding the breakout level, closed right at its highs. I mean, you couldn't have asked for any more technical indicators to have it like look really good. And so come in the morning, I was like, all right, we should get at least this gap up, maybe even better a spike, and I'll be able to sell for profit. As you can see, that did not happen. I mean, even though this is a 1-minute candle, within 10 seconds of the open, I mean, this stock was down below my entry. So I definitely took a loss in this. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where I had 2 million shares, which isn't that much size considering how much volume went through. But it's just funny. I don't know if it's the market makers. I don't know if it's the fills in general with OTCs, or at least me and my size in this particular example. But whenever I wanted to put my order in, it's like all the bids just disappeared. It's like poof, they're gone. So like instead of me selling anywhere in this candle, I was not able to fill until like 1.3 down here, which is okay because that was my original risk on Friday anyway. So it's not like I took a bigger loss than expected, but it does suck seeing like a $2,000 unrealized profit and then having to lose $3,000 on it, like a full 5K swing. It happens. I've been there, but it's just disappointing. And that's why I think my theme, at least for this month, is I've enjoyed listed stocks more, just because I've made more money from them and I don't have to deal with these fills on OTCs. Granted, does that mean I'll stop trading OTCs? Absolutely not. Like, we're going to keep doing that, and like we mentioned, I think last podcast or last episode, like the market will come back. When it comes back, opportunities will be back and volume will be back. And I think we'll be all ready to rock and roll for next time. I have one more remark I want to make about CEI before we close it out, specifically to like the environment that CEI created on like our online community of Twitter, of just financial Twitter, right? There was like this massive war, you can call it a war of like longs versus shorts. And everyone who was long CEI was like part of this full on movement of like, we're going to squeeze shorts, like AMC, GME type kind of thinking. And I just want to say, like, I think it's so silly because if you know who I am, I'm a short. So you're going to be like, of course you hate the longs, Kyle, because you're an evil short seller, yada, yada, yada. And it's not that. It's like, I made money on CEI long. I think it's not longs versus shorts. I think it's traders versus investors, because there's just too many people, like we just mentioned earlier on the podcast, that got crushed believing in CEI. And now they have either losses or no money to like transfer and keep trading to the next runner, whereas we do. So it's like one of those things where I don't care if you make money long or short, just as long as you make money, right? I don't wish losses on anybody, but when you hold and hope and you wish and dream and then you get crushed like on CEI, which again seems extreme, but the reality is these types of ends to these supernovas do happen. Then you have losses because you believed in the company and you didn't really do your due diligence, or you didn't have your own trade plan, or you had no trade plan, right? You just gambled. And so I think that's the kind of the point I want to end, at least for me, for this episode, is like, for me, it's just trading versus investing. It's like, don't be a believer, like truly understand what you own. I don't care if you make money long or short, as long as you're making money and you're trading it and you're not believing the hype and you end up getting crushed. And some people don't even know why. Like, they're still in belief that this is a good company and they're like just baffled. Like, they don't understand why it's at 140 right now. So just don't be one of those guys. Like, I don't know. I could be wrong. This could go higher, but I've seen this too many times where it's like, just trade it. Don't believe it, because 99% of the time you will be disappointed. I don't know if you guys have any add or anything you want to close out with, but that was my little spiel for today.
This month, I think it's been like one of my months that I haven't really forced so many trades. And I think it's really important to not force the hot market, because I feel like I've been in this mindset the whole summer. It's like, it's going to get hot. It's going to get hot. I'm not going to miss it. But when it does get hot, we will know. And like, we will be able to take the trades when they're there, but not force it, because it's just not worth it. There's like, just emotionally and mentally, it's very important to keep intact, because if you keep like getting burnt out, then when the hot market does come, then you're going to be too burnt out for the hot month. So it's really important to just keep the mind clear, and we will recognize when the market is hot, but not try and force it. I think it's what I've been trying to work on the most this month. Just take it easy, take it one trade at a time, but realize that when it does, we will know.
Love that.
Yeah, I like what both of you guys said. Kyle brought up a great point of the investors versus the traders, and I totally agree. And what Mari said as well. I'd like to add a little bit onto that and then finish out on something that I was thinking about Kyle's IFXY trade. So basically what Mario was saying about like how we're gonna know like when it's hot, and right now it's just not hot. And I'm gonna make a point on CEI. Like CEI wasn't like a usual listed NASDAQ supernova, at least I felt, because the day it tanked from 480 to 3, like nobody really made money that day. And then when it tanked from 3 to 1, like nobody really made money on that short on Twitter. Like compared to GNUS and HMNY and all these other, you know, SNDL, NAKD, all these other people were so much more prepared, and it happened so much cleaner and not like not weird price action. And personally, I think like CEI was very weird price action. So like nobody really banked on it. Like traders, Kyle did really well. 60 grand is great, but like this kind of opportunity, like should be like a 6-figure trade for most of us, in my opinion, with, you know, a month-long run up. Like anything that like continuously runs up for 1 month and it's a junk-ish company and people are bashing it short and it keeps going higher and it has insane volume, like those are really the trades that make us a large portion of our money. And I just think that nobody really nailed CEI like perfectly. And even like with the dip buy, it was a short report that made it tank. And usually when you see short reports come out, it's not just going to tank and fade off. Like it's usually going to have a big bounce back since it's so bearish. But CEI is just such a crap company that it couldn't bounce. Anyway, and there's so many longs in it. And like when it is hot, we're going to be selling everything too soon. We're going to, you know, start taking trades on the long side, most likely. And we're going to sell those into the gap ups in the morning. And then you're just going to watch it trend all day. You're going to watch a gap up the next day, keep going up. And that's really when you know, like it's hot, when you start seeing people on Twitter talk about OTCs and everything's going up. Or if NASDAQ stocks, you start seeing tweets about there's no NASDAQ stocks like underneath $1, like there's only 20 stocks left. You know, that's really when it's truly hot. Or Bitcoin makes new highs. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. One of those kind of indicators. And something about IFXY that I wanted to get off my tongue that I think had a big factor in the lackluster gap up on Monday morning, when you usually see a lot of gap ups over the weekend. I think that Columbus Day was a big impact on that trade because there just felt like there was no volume in OTC on Monday morning, nowhere. And I think that was due to, it was a holiday. And I think nobody really wanted to wake up and, you know, buy stocks that morning because it was a quote unquote holiday. And some people even thought that the market was closed. So just with all that going on, I think IFXY was a great trade. And on a different Monday morning, I think that gaps up and runs.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. Because I also saw on Twitter like a large group of people thinking the market was closed. And it's like, guys, it's open. But no, that's a great point. Like people just, again, IFXY, I would take that trade 10 out of 10 times. It's just not going to work every time. So I totally agree. To kind of think close this out, I think some people are wondering like when the market's going to actually heat up again. And I love what Mari said. We'll know. Just based on seasonality, you know, we definitely talked about this last episode. But you know, just because August and September were so slow, I think also at the same point, everyone maybe had more expectations or high expectations for October. Like, okay, now it's over. Like now we can start heating up again. And I think October, November, at least, you know, and Jack, you can talk about this because we've been through it. That's like, it gets hotter, but it's still like you get a CEI and then it's over. And then you get another runner and it's over. There's not this consistent like hot market. And I think that doesn't really come until, at least give us the best chance of coming until like December, January, February. So just if you're still struggling, if you're still not like feeling like we're in a hot market, like again, what Mari said, well, you'll know when you'll know. And until then, you might just have to wait for another month or 2 or 3. So.
Yeah. I remember like the back of my hand. Last year it was Thanksgiving week. I mean, in October it was LKNCY, NWBO. You can go back and look at the charts. We had
Good
2
point.
good runners, and then that was it. But those runners, I personally traded them really well, and it made a really good month in October. Even though it was slow, quote unquote, the runners I capitalized on really well, and the runners recently I have not capitalized on well. I think it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of, I think it's hard to really just master like one ticker, unless you're really, really zoned in on it. And this year, like, I don't really care to like try like super hard. So that's why like, I think I haven't done really well, and it's been a little bit more difficult than those other trades. But yeah, like what Kyle was saying is just, usually it's like towards the end of November, December, January, February, and it's usually like a 6 to 12 week period where we're just going to have constant play. If it's not, you know, every day, every other day, like it could even be like every hour, every 2 hours, like last year. And, you know, that's really the time to step up to the plate and give it your all. But like right now, we're just staying alive. We're staying in tune. We're waiting to see what happens. You got anything to add, Mari?
No.
Nope. Nailed it. Cool. All right, guys. Anyway, like always, you know, we are the moderators in the breakouts and breakdowns chat room. If you like what Twist offers, like we do it way more in detail and depth with webinars in the breakouts and breakdowns chat. I'm sure there'll be links below. Anyways, thanks for stopping by and Twist, and we will likely see you guys next week. See ya.
I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thanks so much for watching and being part of the Stocks to Trade community. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Our goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but we can't do it without you guys. So if you like what we're doing here and you want to hear more, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.